How are you doing? I'm gonna temporarily put the little uh, walking raccoon on, um, just like just while maybe giving some more time for other people to arrive. Okay. Pass-fail classes. That's something to be grateful for. Yeah, I mean, that can really just like take the burden, kind of like, like less stressful. You don't have to like worry about putting like in so much work for all your classes just because it's really unstable time right now. Nothing. I don't really believe that. I don't think that there's nothing to be grateful for. I mean, like, if nothing like maybe happened recently that you're particularly grateful for, I mean, you have food. I'm somewhere to live. You have a computer or a phone because somehow you're accessing this. I don't know, air to breathe. The fact that you're alive, you woke up today. I don't know. There's always something to be grateful for. Something I am grateful for is bread, because I love bread. It's like my favorite food. So my mom gave me some French bread last weekend when I visited her. So I was really happy because I got to eat slices of French bread for breakfast. Okay, so this came up a little bit in fifth period, and I just wanted to address it in case you've seen it too, and in case it's like on your mind or worrying you or something. I did see a few days ago that the idea of starting school in late July or early August for next school year. Nobody knows for sure if this is an actual thing. It's just an idea that Governor Newsom has been floating around just because the different governors and leaders around the world are just trying to they're trying to think about ways that they might help support students and supplement learning that has been like missed during this online school time. Just because realistically speaking, like there's a lot of learning that will be missed during this shelter in place, just because online learning, it's not the same as in-person learning, or this pandemic has been really disruptive for some people and some families. So when you have such big disruption and instability happening, then it's a lot harder to learn. So different leaders around the world, they're just trying to think of ways to maybe what are some solutions to the loss of learning during this spring semester. But no plans have been made definitely to start school in July. Personally, I don't think that's going to be particularly helpful. I think having an extra long semester is just going to be very tiring for students and teachers. But I don't know. It was just an idea that someone came up with. And then the other question that someone had asked is if it's going to be a hybrid school next fall, like half online and half in person. Again, nobody knows what it's going to be like next fall. Nobody knows if you're coming back to the actual classroom next fall or not. The idea is hopefully you can have class in person again in the fall, but nobody can really predict what it's going to be like so far in advance. So for now, just try not to worry or be anxious or freak out about oh my gosh, we're starting in July, or oh my gosh, we're doing this, because nothing is for sure yet. Okay, so I wanted to do a example of that inventory check activity that started on Tuesday and then continued yesterday. So just as a refresher, the inventory check, you're kind of identifying items, either maybe on your desk or on a dresser or in a drawer or something like that, and then you're identifying what are these items made of, like what materials are making these items, and then yesterday you were brainstorming like paths for removing that item from your life, and the reason that really the whole point, one of the main points of this activity was just I guess sort of like trying to convey the idea that every time we take something into our lives, either we buy it or someone gives it to us, or whatever the case may be, everything that we own, it we are now responsible for that item in our life, and we're responsible for doing something with it when it's time to get rid of that item or when we no longer want that item, and we're responsible for finding a appropriate pathway for that item to leave our lives. Of course, the trash can is always an option, but we're trying to learn new ways that we can limit our impact on the earth, and so we're trying to avoid throwing things in landfill, and finding other alternative pathways for items when we don't want it in our lives anymore. So I'm just going to share 3 items from my junk drawer. I don't know, my knick-knack box or whatever. So the first one is Pop Funko. This was given to me by a friend because I like Doctor Who, and this is my favorite Doctor. So if I was analyzing what are the materials involved in this toy, the box, cardboard, and then plastic, and then there's also like a plastic what do you call it, whatever that the toy, like the mold that the toy sits in, that's plastic, and then the toy itself, the figurine, is also made of plastic. So the paper, that's recyclable, it's compostable, so I could either, if I was going to get rid of this, if I took it apart, then I could recycle the paper or compost the paper, and then I would have to throw away the plastic. But truthfully, if I was going to get rid of this, because it's an action figure type thing, I'd probably just leave it all in the box, because I never opened it, so it's still in good quality, and the box was never opened and everything. So I think it should stay that way, and I would probably give it as a gift to a friend or a kid for like a birthday present or something like that. Because I have friends that like these kinds of things, or I think kids might like them, collecting little action figure type things. So that's probably what I would do with this thing. Second item I have is a Sudoku book that I've had for a very long time. It's very worn out, and it's it's a book, so it's made of paper. So the options, besides throwing it away, I could recycle it, of course, or because it is paper and paper comes from trees, so it is an organic material, I could compost it. I could just I could throw it in a compost bin or something if I had a compost bin, and then turn it into soil for my garden that I don't have. right? Or, if I didn't want to compost it, recycling is always fine too. And then the last thing I have is a CD. It's a Taylor Swift CD. And, this outside cover is made of paper. The actual CD case is plastic, and then the CD itself is like a mix of, I think, like metal and plastic or something like that. And so the CD, if it was like, let's say, broken or something, I could probably take it to like an electronic waste recycling place. I did find a place, I think it's in Burlingame, and they like recycle like DVDs and CDs and stuff like that. So I could take that there, and then maybe the plastic case, CD case, could be recycled or donated or reused. I could buy reused by a CD shop or something like that. But because my CD is actually still in really nice condition and it's not worn out or anything, I could, donate it to Goodwill or some other like, place where like they sell items for cheaper and then donate to charity or something like that. So, like Goodwill, Samaritan's House, Salvation Army or something like that. But I would probably donate this to the library because the libraries accept books, CDs, movies, and stuff like that. As long as they're in decent condition and they're not broken or anything like that. And so I would, donate this to the library, and then other people could enjoy listening to the music, whenever they want. And so those are kind of the pathways that I would take for if I wanted to remove these items from my life. But that's not happening right now. So, I'm just wondering, did anyone else have, well, if you have done the activity, would you mind sharing an item from your inventory and what it's made of and ways that you've thought of to, get rid of the item without, throwing it away? If you haven't done the activity yet, take a look around you, pick an item that's within reach, and then try to figure out what it's made of. And then, what are some ways that if you wanted to get rid of it, like right now, what are some ways that you could do that without throwing it in the trash? Anyone have something to share? Kosei, Yuan, and anonymous third person. Oh, Abigail. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, wood-based, metal, and the nice thing about wood products is, wood is really easy to, it biodegrades, if the coating is kind of removed. So, the nice thing that we don't have to worry about with wood-based products usually is that it's going to eventually, it's not going to last forever. It's going to, decompose by itself eventually without like a, protective coating on it. And metal is reusable, recyclable forever, pretty much. So, yeah, my desk is also mostly wood and metal. And actually, I got this desk and a lot of my furniture, it's not just mine, it's mine and my husband's, but our furniture, we didn't really buy furniture. I'm actually trying to think right now if there's any furniture that we actually like bought new ourselves, and I don't think so, because like my desk, it came from a family friend that this family friend, the dad, he likes to, his hobby is going to garage sales and finding deals. So one time he brought home like 4 identical desk/tables, and his wife was like, oh my goodness, we don't need 4 of these. Hi. And so she gave me one of them. And so that's how I got this desk. It's more like it's actually, I don't know, maybe it's a table, but I use it like a desk. And so, kind of passing it on to friends that might need furniture, friends that are moving out, family friends that have kids that are going to college or moving out or whatever. Like, at some point in everyone's life, depending on what they're doing, life stage and everything, like they may have a need for furniture. And so that's a perfect opportunity to like get rid of the furniture that you no longer want. Thank you, Abigail, for sharing. Did anyone else want to share? Okay, that's fine. I won't make you share if you don't want to. Okay, did you all see and read my email about the trash audit? And then, like, did you read the instructions for the trash audit that I posted in Canvas? Yes, no, maybe. Okay, I'm gonna take your non-response as you didn't look at it, or you didn't see it yet, so I'm going to just briefly go over it. Today, if you didn't already start yesterday, and maybe you're just like not responding, but today what you should do is set up your trash audit, because it's going to go for a week, and I would like you to finish next week. So you're going to, and the instructions are in more detail on Canvas next to the agenda for yesterday, so you can take a look at that if you want more detail. But basically, you're going to set aside a bag or a box your choice. That's going to be like your designated trash audit bag. And anything that you come across in this week, for 1 week starting today or so, if you normally would have thrown something away, then instead of throwing it in the regular trash, you put it in your trash audit bag. The exceptions to this, I mean, you can kind of set your own rules about this, but when I do trash audits, and I'm going to do it too, I'm going to be doing it this week with you all so that next Thursday during live stream I can share my trash audit. If it's food related, like if it has food in it or on it, and it's not like dry, it's like wet, I don't put it in there. Just put it in the regular trash. I don't want food stuff in your trash audit because I don't want ants to start aggregating. I also don't want there to be mold. I don't want you to have to go through mold when you look through it later. Yeah, you're just gonna be collecting for a week anything that you would normally have thrown away. And please let the other people in your household know that you're doing this, just so that they're not your parents aren't like, why are you collecting trash, and B, because if you're not the only person in your household, which I'm guessing you're not, then other people in the household, they throw things away too, and depending on how the household chores are divided, some people might, because of the different activities or chores that they do for the household, they might come in contact with more things that get thrown away. For example, whoever prepares food more often probably will have more stuff to throw away, just like food packaging and whatnot. Yeah, and also don't put in your trash audit anything that any single-use hygiene items. Like, don't put floss in there. Don't put tissues or napkins or stuff like that. So I want this to be kind of kept as clean as possible. So yeah, were there any questions about that? No questions? Okay. If you think of a question at some point about that, you feel free to email me or something on Canvas or whatever. But yeah, like all the instructions are there in that instruction guide that I put on Canvas. And I'm just hoping that I hope you just in kind of, I don't know, I hope you find it as interesting as I found it when I did my first trash audit. It really helped me just be aware of, I guess, just what I'm throwing away each week or how much I throw away each week. The idea is not to make us feel bad or to feel guilty or ashamed or anything like that. The framework for this unit that I've tried to emphasize throughout this unit is awareness. All these activities are geared towards increasing our awareness for our own lifestyle habits so that when we're aware, we can live more intentionally. So that's the ultimate goal of all these activities and this unit. Okay, any questions in general about class, end of the year stuff, what's gonna happen for the month of May, or any of the work for this class? Or you could just ask me anything in general, anything about my life or anything. Any questions? Anything you want to know? Anything you've been curious about? Okay. When you get back to school, like in person, for in-person school, definitely not the rest of this semester, which you already know. I'm thinking you'll be able to go back to school in the fall. Again, like, nobody can say for certain because we don't necessarily know how this virus is going to act when it comes back, because the latest theory or hypothesis is that it's going to come back again, like during flu season, so maybe around October, November, somewhere around there when flu season normally starts. So it's a little uncertain if we're gonna have to re-enter a kind of semi-online school towards the winter. As a species, well, okay, so there's a lot of ways to answer that, because the word affect can mean so many, has so many different facets. Yeah, exactly, Abigail. Some people die. That's one way it affects us. Is physically, people get sick, and then this is a source of illness and death. So it decreases population. So it decreases population growth. The other thing it's doing is it's really negatively affecting our economy, and so that can affect our ability to make money, because we might not have a job, or we may not be able to work, and if we can't get money, then we may not be able to live as well, because you need money to buy food and you need money to pay rent, especially if you want to live in the Bay Area. I don't know that okay. So I wouldn't say a virus or a pandemic is a solution to overpopulation, even if its effect is hampering population growth. The solutions to overpopulation are, helping countries develop better, medical technologies, helping countries have better access to education, so that, women do not feel like all they have to offer is having children. I would say those are solutions to overpopulation. That being said, as population growth increases and as populations become more dense, nature kind of has its own ways of kind of a checks and balance system. So as a population gets more dense, it's easier to contract a disease and spread that disease around. That's why the densely populated, the big cities in America have been like the major hotspots for the virus. So I don't know if that necessarily like answers the question, but like it's sort of like as population continues to grow and you're sort of reaching the limit of what a space can, how many people a certain environment can support, then you start running into other problems. Be it you run out of food, you run out of space, or disease is more likely to occur. But yeah, I'm sure a lot of people have been studying, doing kind of like surveys and studies on how we are being affected by the COVID-19 in more ways than just getting sick and dying. I mean, it's, it impacts our culture because now we're kind of like, we have all these new social norms, like we don't shake people's hands and we stay kind of away from each other, or people are working from home more. So maybe it'll just become more of a normal thing to have people telecommuting and working from home. So there are some positive effects, or I would say positive consequences for the environment. Just like, let's say, because we're driving less, there's less cars on the road, so there's less carbon emissions from burning fuel, and so there's less, air pollution that's being added to the air, and so the air quality is improving in some areas. That's a good thing, but that doesn't mean that the virus itself is a good thing, because it's not a good thing that people are getting sick and dying. There's so many other ways to get to the goal of decreasing air pollution. There's so many other ways to get to the goal of decreasing carbon emissions without the need for a pandemic. But I think what this pandemic has shown us is that it is possible for people to make changes in their lifestyle that positively impact the environment. And I was listening to a podcast episode yesterday about like how the issue of climate change and COVID-19 are related or connected to each other, and just how like some people, like some climate activists are saying like, we need to continue thinking about climate change even as we're trying to solve the issues of this pandemic, because climate change is also a global issue that will affect like millions of people and possibly cause the death of millions of people just due to things like increased weather storm severity or drought or whatever, fighting for resources. So yeah, I mean, I think like even though we do have this pandemic going on, it's important to remember that it's still important to be thinking about how we can be positively affecting the environment. And I think like just seeing how changing our lifestyle has been able to affect the environment is sort of like, it's like, hey, we can actually do this. Like we can make changes to how often we're driving around or stuff like that. But to be clear, I wouldn't say the pandemic is a good thing. But just because something is not a good thing doesn't mean that there are no positive outcomes. Like a bad thing can happen and still have like silver linings. But that was a really good question, Dawn. I'm glad you brought that up. Any other questions? Anything you'd like to know? Okay. Oh, so if it is coming back, then what are we going to? So I think what was really hard about like right now, this first wave of the pandemic, is we, and by we I mean primarily the healthcare system, was not ready to kind of deal with such a scale of people going to the hospital and needing to be on a ventilator and stuff like that. And then we didn't have enough like face masks, or we, meaning the healthcare people, didn't have enough face masks and protective equipment. And so you've heard a lot about like how the hospitals have been scrambling to get more ventilators, and car manufacturers have had to be making more ventilators, and there weren't enough face masks, there weren't enough face shields and all sorts of protective equipment. And I think that, you know, that's what really hit us like really hard. And I think like I even heard that some scientists or someone who like kind of does some sort of investigation or audit or something about the US preparedness for these kinds of things. Like scientists had kind of warned that like, you know, a pandemic was possible or something like this might be coming, and had said that, you know, the US is not prepared because we didn't have enough supplies like stored up in preparation for something of this scale. And so that kind of unpreparedness and kind of being caught off guard is really what kind of put us in a hole. I think now that we kind of saw like this was the scope of like the virus, then I think hospitals, you know, in the downtime, you know, maybe in the summer when things die down a little, hospitals are probably going to be stockpiling, getting like gear ready, like ventilators and other protective equipment, so that when this happens again and when it comes back, then they're going to be ready, and they won't necessarily need to be scrambling and waiting for more material. Because, you know, if you're a hospital and you're out of ventilators but someone needs a ventilator and then you need to wait for a ventilator to come to you, like that's precious time that person dying doesn't have. So if you have a stockpile of ventilators ready for you know, X number of people coming in, then I think that will help prevent a lot more deaths. The other thing is that all this time, you know, scientists have been researching if there's medicine that helps, if there's, you know, any like remdesivir, if that will help with symptoms. And, you know, like it was just impossible to know like what is going to help when like we were just caught off guard. And so when we have more time for these scientists to do research and you know, clinical trials and whatnot on whether or not certain medicine will have positive effects on, you know, preventing symptoms and stuff like that, then it also helps the hospitals be more prepared with like a plan of like, okay, here's something that we could do to treat the virus. And, you know, with more time then maybe by then depending on, when this virus comes back, we might be closer to having a vaccine. We don't know. So all the extra time just buys scientists more time to learn more about the virus, maybe develop some treatments or stuff like that. So it shouldn't be worse when it comes back, because we've been doing so much work on trying to be more prepared and study more. Haha, no, it does not. Don't drink bleach. Don't ingest, what do you call it? Don't ingest any disinfectants. Don't drink Clorox anything. Keep all chemicals on outside of your body. I mean, like, the thing with bleach and disinfectants and stuff like that, like, it may kill the coronavirus, but it would also kill everything else inside of you, like the stuff that is supposed to be there, like your regular cells and stuff like that. So it's kind of like too much of a good thing turns into a bad thing. No, don't bathe in bleach either. Actually, like, I don't know, like, I hardly use bleach just because it's so harsh. Like, I don't use it to clean anything. I might just use bleach, like, if I had a stain on, like, a white shirt or something, then I might only use bleach just to, like, whiten it. I think that's the only time I've ever used bleach. Because, I mean, don't forget, like, there's pores in your skin, like, so it's not like your skin is completely impermeable to everything. Okay, it's about 2:20. So if there are no more last burning questions, then we can end here. Thanks for all the good questions about, COVID-19 and stuff like that. So okay, we're gonna end here, and I'm gonna get ready for 7th period. Don't price gouge. Price gouging bad. Okay, so thank you, those of you who came, asked questions, and interacted with me. Yeah, have fun with your trash audit. I hope you do it. Try it out. I will see you next Thursday. Okay? Bye.